The Batmobile isn't just Batman's ride. It's a symbol of his power, style, and ever-evolving war on crime. From sleek, high-tech machines to armored battle tanks, each version of the Batmobile is built for a purpose. Let's watch out for every model and see how the Dark Knight's legendary car has changed over the years. The very first Batmobile was nothing like the high-tech armored vehicles we see today. Back in 1941, Batman's ride was just a simple red convertible with a small bat emblem on the front. No special armor, no hidden gadgets, just a regular car driven by Gotham's masked vigilante. But that was only the beginning. In those early days, Batman didn't have a custom-built crime-fighting machine. He drove ordinary cars, likely the best models available at the time. The term Batmobile was first introduced in Detective Comics number 41 by Batman's creator, Bob Kane. Once the name caught on, every car the Dark Knight drove became known as the Batmobile. The first official Batmobile made its debut in Detective Comics number 48 in February 1941. It was a bright red convertible, heavily inspired by the 1936 Cord, though its front end looked more like a Lincoln. Unlike later versions, it didn't have the famous bat fins or an intimidating look. Instead, it had a small gold bat hood ornament. While it might seem simple compared to what came later, this Batmobile still had some impressive features. Despite its ordinary appearance, it was described as having a supercharged motor that allowed it to race through the streets at incredible speeds, almost silently. It was also built tough, strong enough to crash through walls without taking damage or harming Batman inside. This car might not have had weapons or armor, but it was fast, reliable, and got the job done. Though very different from the Batmobiles we know today, this original version set the foundation for what would come next. It introduced key elements that would stick around, like the bat emblem on the front and the idea that Batman's car should be something special. Over time, the Batmobile would evolve into something far more advanced, but it all started with this simple red convertible, the first real Batmobile. By the 1950s, the Batmobile finally started to look like the iconic car we recognize today. It was no longer just a sleek vehicle. It became a true symbol of Batman. The bright red color was gone, replaced with bold black paint. Bat fins stretched from the back, and a dramatic front grille gave it a fierce look. It was built to stand out, and more importantly, it was built to take on Gotham's criminals. During one mission, Batman and Robin were chasing down criminals when they drove onto a bridge rigged with explosives. The Batmobile was destroyed in the blast, and Batman's leg was badly injured. For a while, Robin had to fight crime alone as Bruce Wayne recovered. But while resting, Batman was already planning something bigger, a brand new Batmobile. Not only this new version had major upgrades. It still had the long, sleek body of earlier models, but it was designed for function and speed. One of the biggest changes was the addition of a separate bubble-shaped dome over the seats, giving the car a futuristic look. The curves of older Batmobiles were gone, replaced with a sharp, boxy design. The laboratory that had been built into previous versions was also removed, leaving space only for Batman and Robin. This Batmobile kept many familiar features, like the bat-shaped front and the towering fin at the back, but it was simpler and more streamlined. Some fans weren't happy with the changes, feeling that the new design lacked the depth and detail of earlier versions, but it served its purpose. When Batman finally returns to action, he and Robin waste no time tracking down the criminals who destroyed the last Batmobile. With their new ride, they captured them without a hitch. This 1950s redesign was a key step in the Batmobile's evolution. It introduced the bubble dome and a sleeker, more futuristic style. Though not everyone loved the simplified look, This version laid the groundwork for the Batmobiles that would follow in the decades to come. The 1966 Batmobile is one of the most famous versions of all time. Built for the classic Batman TV series starring Adam West and Burt Ward, this sleek black car with bold red accents became an instant icon. Designed by George Barris, it was based on a 1955 Lincoln Futura, a futuristic concept car from Ford. With only 3 weeks to transform it, Barris and his team turned the Futura into something truly unforgettable. Now, let's talk about its specs. This Batmobile wasn't just stylish. It was packed with gadgets. It had bat-shaped doors, a glowing red bat emblem, and a siren, since this version of Batman was actually deputized by the police. The front of the car was designed to look like a bat's face, with headlights as eyes and a hood scoop forming the nose. The grille even had hidden rockets inside. And at the back, a massive rear turbine that supposedly ran on atomic power. Inside the car, the dynamic duo had everything they needed to fight crime. The Batphone kept them in contact with Commissioner Gordon. The Batscope worked like a high-tech tracking system. There was a Bat radar, a Bat glove compartment, and even a bazooka. If they ever needed to make a fast escape, Batman could pull the Bat turn lever, releasing twin parachutes for quick 180-degree turns. And to top it all off, the entire cockpit was covered in bulletproof plexiglass. This Batmobile was big. It weighed 5,500 pounds and was powered by a high-performance 429 Ford race engine. The massive 84-inch rear fins completed the bat-like look, making it one of the most recognizable cars in TV history. Fans loved it, and even though the show was full of campy humor, the Batmobile itself remained a timeless piece of Batman's legacy. For years, this legendary car was displayed at the Guinness World Records Museum in Gatlinburg, before being moved to the Hollywood Star Cars collection. Even today, the 1966 Batmobile is one of the most beloved versions ever made, proving that sometimes style and personality matter just as much as power. By 1989, the Batmobile had taken on a whole new look, sleek, intimidating, and built for war. This version, often called the Keaton Mobile, made its debut in Tim Burton's Batman, driven by Michael Keaton. It was unlike anything that came before it. Low to the ground, over 20 feet long and completely black, it looked more like a fighter jet on wheels than a car. It was designed for both speed and stealth, making Batman even more of a shadowy figure in Gotham. Beyond this, built on a Chevrolet Impala chassis and powered by a Chevy V8 engine, this Batmobile had one of the most memorable reveals in the movie. When Batman tells Vicky Vale, "Get in the car," and she hesitates, the music swells and the Batmobile comes into view, a moment that still gives fans chills. But this wasn't just about looks. It had gadgets that set a new standard. It could go from 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds, deploy bulletproof shields at the push of a button, and even be controlled remotely by Batman. One of its most iconic moments came when it stormed Axis Chemicals, unleashing machine guns, concealed grenades, and other weapons. This was a Batmobile built for action. Well, the design was the work of Anton Furst, inspired by the eerie and gothic style of H.R. Giger. The long, bullet-shaped body, massive jet engine intake at the front, and curved bat fins made it instantly recognizable. It was darker and more serious than previous Batmobiles, perfectly matching Burton's vision of Gotham City. This wasn't just another car, it was a game-changer. While earlier versions leaned into futuristic or flashy designs, this Batmobile was pure intimidation. It blended into the night, looking like a creature of Gotham itself. Though it was last seen in Batman Returns, 1992, it made a surprise comeback in The Flash, 2023, proving that even after decades, this Batmobile remains one of the most iconic vehicles in movie history. The Batman Forever Batmobile was a big departure from the dark and gritty style of the previous films. With Val Kilmer as Batman, this version of the car was flashier, glowing with bright blue neon lights and a giant bat fin running down the center. It was designed by Barbara Ling, who took inspiration from older Batmobiles, especially the 1940s versions. But instead of blending into the shadows, this one looked like it belonged at a futuristic rave. Speaking of design, the car's stylish body was made from fiberglass and sat on a powerful Chevy 350 ZS3 engine. It had a unique, almost skeletal design with parts of the frame resembling a rib cage. The classic bat wings at the back were sharper and taller, giving it a more dramatic look. This Batmobile was all about style, though it didn't always make sense for a crime fighter who operates at night. In the movie, Batman used this Batmobile to take on Two-Face, who was robbing Gotham's Second National Bank. Later, when Two-Face and his gang chased Batman through the city, the car showed off one of its strangest features. Using a built-in grappling hook, it scaled the side of a building to escape, one of the more ridiculous moments in Batman movie history. This Batmobile didn't just belong to Batman, though. At one point, Dick Grayson, later known as Robin, stole it and took it for a joyride. He ends up getting into a fight with a dangerous street gang before Batman arrives to save him. Unfortunately, this Batmobile didn't last long. When Two-Face and the Riddler attacked Wayne Manor, they broke into the Batcave and planted explosives inside the car. In a massive explosion, the Batmobile was completely destroyed, along with most of the Batcave. While Batman Forever wasn't a huge hit, this Batmobile still became one of the most recognizable in the franchise. Its unique design made it stand out, even if it wasn't the most practical ride for the Dark Knight. The Batman and Robin Batmobile was one of the flashiest, most over-the-top versions ever created. Designed for George Clooney's Batman, this car was massive, 30 feet long, open cockpit, and glowing from front to back. Unlike the darker, stealthier Batmobiles before it, this one looked like something straight out of a futuristic theme park. Designed by Harold Belker, it took inspiration from classic race cars like the Jaguar D-Type, but had exaggerated curves, massive fins, and an almost skeletal look. The glowing blue details made it impossible to miss, which wasn't exactly great for a crime fighter who works at night. Still, it was packed with gadgets and hidden missile launchers, and could reach speeds of 140 miles per hour. One odd thing? It only had one seat. Despite Batman finally having a partner, this Batmobile made it clear Robin had to take his own ride. On top of that, the car made its big debut in the Batcave, rising up dramatically before Batman took it out to stop Mr. Freeze at the Gotham Museum of Art. Right before they left, Robin joked, "I want a car." "Chicks dig the car," to which Batman replied, "This is why Superman works alone." Alfred, of course, just reminded Bruce to bring the car back in one piece. Later, during a wild chase against Freeze, the Batmobile ended up driving onto a giant statue, its wheels skidding down the massive arm. Robin tried to jump across, but Batman remotely disabled his bike to stop him. Right after, Freeze fired his ice beam, freezing the Batmobile mid-air. Batman ejected just in time, crashing through Freeze's windshield and taking him down. Despite being completely frozen, the Batmobile was back to looking brand new the next time Batman and Robin returned to the Batcave. It was used again when they rushed to stop Freeze after his escape from Arkham. But by the time Gotham was covered in ice, Batman decided to ditch the Batmobile and switch to the Bathammer. a vehicle better suited for the freezing battlefield. This Batmobile may not have been the most practical, but it was definitely one of the wildest in the franchise. When Batman Begins hit theaters in 2005, it completely changed how people saw Batman. Christopher Nolan wanted a more realistic, grounded world, and that meant giving Batman a Batmobile that actually felt like it could exist. Enter the Tumbler, a massive military-grade tank with the speed of a sports car and the toughness of a war machine. Designed by Nathan Crowley and Nolan himself, this beast looked like a cross between a Lamborghini and a Hummer, built for battle rather than style. Unlike past Batmobiles, the Tumbler wasn't just for show. It was fully functional. It could actually perform the stunts seen in the movie, hitting speeds up to 160 miles per hour with 500 horsepower under the hood. Originally developed by Wayne Tech as a military prototype, it was built for off-road combat and could launch itself across rivers using a jet boost. When Bruce Wayne first saw it, he was sold. His only question: does it come in black? You will be shocked to know that the Tumbler wasn't just fast and powerful, it was packed with weapons and tech. It had twin machine guns mounted at the front, a rocket launcher, and an advanced braking system with 6 rear flaps for tight maneuvers. The front was heavily armored, letting Batman ram through obstacles without a scratch. And when stealth was needed, the Tumbler could switch to electric mode, shutting off its lights and engine to vanish into the darkness. If things got too intense, it could even drop explosive mines behind it to take out pursuers. One of the coolest features was attack mode, where Batman's seat shifted to the center, and he lay face down between the front wheels. This gave him extra protection and made high-speed chases even more precise. But its most iconic moment came in The Dark Knight, when the Joker took it down. Just when it seemed like Batman was out of options, the Tumbler's front wheels ejected, revealing the Batpod, a sleek, armored motorcycle hidden inside. The Tumbler wasn't just another Batmobile, it was a game-changer, making Batman's ride as legendary as the Dark Knight himself. When Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice hit theaters in 2016, it introduced a new Batmobile that was bigger, meaner, and deadlier than ever. This version, driven by Ben Affleck's battle-hardened Batman, was a perfect mix of past designs. It had the sleekness of the Batman '89 version, combined with the raw military power of the Tumbler from the Dark Knight trilogy. It wasn't just a car, it was a full-blown war machine built for Gotham's toughest streets. Designed by Zack Snyder and his team, this Batmobile was a leaner, more aggressive take on previous versions. The team wanted it to feel used, weathered, and built for battle, not luxury. It wasn't clean or polished. It was armored, scratched up, and packed with firepower. The entire car was built from the ground up, weighing a massive 8,800 pounds. It took over a year to design and test, getting pushed to its limits in the California desert and freezing Detroit winters. What made this Batmobile stand out was its insane combat abilities. It was loaded with hidden weapons, including machine guns mounted on the front, a missile launcher, and a reinforced battering ram. The design focused on function over looks. This wasn't about looking cool. It was about taking down criminals fast. Every inch of it was built for high-speed chases, intense battles, and crashing through anything in its way. It was fast, durable, and completely ruthless, just like Affleck's Batman. While Batman v Superman had mixed reviews, no one could deny how cool this Batmobile looked in action. It roared through Gotham streets, tearing apart enemy vehicles with ease. But its real moment came in Zack Snyder's Justice League, 2021, when Batman used it to lead the fight against an army of parademons. With guns blazing and explosions all around, the Batmobile proved why it's one of the most powerful versions ever built. Impressively, this Batmobile wasn't just another upgrade. It was a symbol of Batman's relentless war on crime. Rugged, deadly, and built like a tank, it was made for a dark knight who had been fighting for years and wasn't holding back anymore. Finally, the Batmobile in the Batman, 2022, is a whole new beast. Stripped down, raw, and built for speed, this version is less about high-tech gadgets and more about pure, brutal power. It looks like something Bruce Wayne built himself in a garage. A customized muscle car that's fast, intimidating, and ready for the streets of Gotham. However, director Matt Reeves and production designer James Chinlund took inspiration from classic muscle cars, especially the late 60s Dodge Charger. The result is a vehicle that feels grounded and realistic, but still terrifying. It has a massive reinforced bumper that doubles as a battering ram, a roaring V8 engine, and a sleek but aggressive shape. The exposed rear engine, with its giant rocket exhaust, makes it clear that this car isn't just for chasing criminals. It's built to destroy anything in its way. Speaking of its looks, the interior is just as stripped down as the outside. There's only one Corbeau seat, a simple steering wheel, and basic controls, making it feel more like a street racer than a high-tech Batmobile. It perfectly matches Robert Pattinson's version of Batman. Rough around the edges, still figuring things out, but powerful and relentless. One of the most exciting moments in the film is when this Batmobile bursts through flames in a high-speed chase. It's loud, fast, and terrifying, just like the Dark Knight himself. It's not the most advanced Batmobile ever, but it's one of the most intense and grounded versions we've seen. What are your favorite Batmobiles so far? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel.